Well, I'm really excited for today. I think, Curtis, you've traveled all the way from beautiful, sunny Venice, California to be here, so much appreciated for that. And Kim, you came from up the road in New York, so obviously great to have you as well. But I think for today, we want to have a really cool, authentic conversation about retention. I think we'll go into some quick intros first. But again, the conversation here is based on the fact that everyone knows from an e-commerce perspective, you have to have a retention strategy. And every brand is different. Some brands might have a very heavy retail presence. Some brands might be omni-channel. Some brands might be online only. And going into the scaling world that we have post-COVID, what does retention look like? So with that said, Curtis, you obviously came the furthest, so I'll kind of give the intro to you first.
Hey guys, yes, Curtis. I work for Aviator Nation, which is a clothing brand based out of Southern California, but we've expanded. We're in Soho now, actually, as of like 2 weeks ago. 18 retail stores. Heard some clapping back there. Thank you. 18 retail stores, a pretty big online presence. I've been with the brand for 9 years now. The brand was founded 16 years ago, so I've been around for quite a while. I kind of cut my teeth with the brand and learned everything I know working for Aviator. I started just working on our sales floor, selling hoodies, and kind of got lucky enough to ride the wave of e-commerce exploding in that time, and then the brand kind of exploding. And so really happy to be here, and honestly, I'm learning a lot from the people who have spoken so far and just interacting with all of you, and hope to maybe share a nugget of wisdom or two about our journey as well.
Kim, pass to you.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Kim. I've worked in big beauty, baby beauty, and now I'm in the sunny middle of the rocket ship that is Supergoop. Currently hiring for a hype crew, so if anyone wants to join. I think that for us, loyalty and retention, it's obviously crucial to our mission of getting people to wear sunscreen every single day. So excited to chat.
Perfect. Well, great to have you guys here, and thank you again for having us here to the conference. I think the first question that I have is I'd love to understand how you guys each approach loyalty. Obviously, you guys are merchants of Yotpo, use our loyalty products. Whoa. But I think the other point that I want to understand is kind of how do you approach like your stack? I think there's many different ways to utilize loyalty in store, as I mentioned. Obviously, Curtis, you mentioned your store online. I know, Kim, you guys are kind of rebranding and redoing some of your loyalty approaches. So as you've kind of had your loyalty experiences evolve, what are some of the current things you're looking to, either from a stack perspective or are most critical right now going into the new year? And Kim, if it's cool, I'll give it to you first this time.
Yeah, I think something you'll hear from me a lot today is just about those silos going away. For a long time, we've seen as, our SMS customer, our email customer, our loyalty customer. And now we're really looking at our stack and trying to figure out how we break apart some of those data silos and get better integrations that we can see that customer fully. I think a big part of this retention journey is how do we better know our customer and understand what resonates with them when. And to do that, we really need to be able to have our tools talking together. So tools that play nicely together are definitely where we're trying to move more and more towards, rather than tools that are trying to build gated walls in between. We're looking for just better data connectivity. We're a pretty agile team, pretty small, pretty lean. I think a lot of us here can probably say that about our businesses. So the more that we can also self-service our data rather than having to constantly be asking for support, like we want to be able to have our hands in it without necessarily relying on hiring a data analyst in-house or putting in a ticket request that takes multiple weeks. That's really how we make the decision-making for our tech stack today.
And like further up on that quickly, like I think outside of like figuring out the framework and the architecture, like how are you thinking about what type of rewards or what incentivize the gamification for those type of customers? Have you guys been doing interviews? Like how do you think about what actually end consumer wants to have that gets you to that level where you think loyalty is really valuable?
Yeah, I think to start with, I really hate the term loyalty program. Loyalty is what it engenders. It's about rewards for the consumer. So really just centering it first with what rewards matter to the consumer. We've done focus groups, we've done surveys, and we also just look at our data. What are people choosing to do with their points? And how do we also think about not only rewarding just transactional behaviors, but thinking about rewarding behaviors that we want them to feel good about?
I think it's a whole part as well. Like people think of like an airline loyalty program where you only earn points when you fly, but how do you create an experience where you're constantly engaging with the brands, reading blog posts, maybe purchasing in store via Shopify POS, here obviously, like in those type of things to really bring that forward. So Curtis, like the same question to you, like how do you think of not a loyalty program, but the rewards experience that best is maximized for your very loyal customer base?
Yeah, so it's evolved a lot over the last year. Our 18 retail stores haven't even been on Shopify for a full year. So we had a very siloed business where the retail business was on a different program than Shopify. And so over the last year, with retention in mind, we've been trying to bring that all into like a single tech stack, which is utilizing Yotpo. We have TapCart for a mobile app and all these different things and touch points where we can interact with the consumer in a way that's, like you were saying, kind of automated, sending the right message at the right time. And then you mentioned something interesting about like, leveraging non-transactional interactions with the customer to reward them. So for Aviator, we've branched out into, we want to be like a lifestyle brand. And so we try to be really true to that. And so leveraging a rewards or loyalty program to incentivize, like come to our beach cleanup, earn points that way. We have a fitness studio in Santa Monica that we just opened called Aviator Nation Ride, where we do spin classes and boxing classes. How can we use that loyalty program to drive people into this new business venture? We just opened a restaurant and music venue in Malibu called Aviator Nation Dreamland. How do we get people to download like that mobile app so we can, connect with them that way? And all those things just deepen, our brand identity as someone or as a brand that cares about like, the beaches, that wants you to be fit and active. We want you to come to these live shows. Ultimately, we want you to spend money with us too. But it shows like a deeper level of brand.
So I think that's to your point. Like you're really taking what is like the ethos of the brand that you have. What are the key values you incorporate and how you connect those with your consumers? That people don't feel as if they're only purchasing a product, they're part of your community. I think what you mentioned as well is like, for those who've been to the store in Venice, you have a huge space which has ping pong tables, concerts, and it's really a meeting place for people to connect with each other who are in that like-minded community. And I think when you can build a program like that, which incentivizes those points where you can give out those types of things, it makes it, again, feel like a connected experience year round, not just very transactional, like I buy, I receive.
I think also we're, a lot of us here at DTC operators, we're never going to win on the basis of a rewards program that's based on transactional over wholesale. Like transactional loyalty programs like Sephora's, Nordstrom's, they're going to always have that pull from a retention perspective. And for us, it is really about the vibes. It's how do we make it easy to feel good about shopping with our DTC flagship, embracing the heart of the brand, rather than, hey, if you spend more, you get more. They're never going to spend a basket as big with a single DTC brand as they are when they can also combine head-to-toe routines or everything in my household with my beauty purchase. So for us, I think the DTC space is really about getting closer to the brand, and that retention strategy should be more focused on bringing someone closer to the brand rather than purely on just building basket.
I think it's really, really key. I think it's an interesting point that you guys both do it so well, but it's also so different. So I'm kind of curious if you wouldn't mind, like, what are some of the things that you do to personalize the experiences for those high-end consumers that you have that you view as super loyal? I think some people find the mistake and they say, oh, I love what Glossier does. I'm going to copy their rewards program. Problem, they sell mattresses. Or they have different types of things, and people find ways to say what's working and pull it to them. So I'm kind of curious, to your point, how do you kind of personalize that experience to ensure what you're offering and to maybe each journey that the consumer is having is right for them?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So logistically, people that enter into certain tiers of our loyalty program are going to get a different experience. Someone who's in like the top tier of it, their order, we're using Shopify flows, which some people were talking about earlier, to automate some communications with our warehouse to ensure that those orders are getting picked, packed, and shipped like same day. So they're having these super loyal customers, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, who are making up X amount of our yearly revenue, are getting this like top line service that's like exceptional. And then we're hacking Gorgeous, like people were talking about earlier, to ensure that they have on-demand support that's like really quick. And And we're not doing that, while also just ignoring everyone else. We're writing flows. If a customer is purchasing with us for the first time, we're putting them into that like really quick fulfillment process because we want them to have a great, awesome first experience, and we want it to be frictionless because we know how important it is to get that second, third, and fourth purchase. And so like kind of hacking some of your system operations to create an elevated experience for these people that are really high value customers is one thing that we're kind of doing in a personalization manner.
I think I want to build off that because I think that's something that my team and I have been grappling with too, is how do you balance creating that air of exclusivity while also creating this environment that feels very inclusive, that sunscreen is for everybody. We don't want to create this gated space where if you spend enough, you suddenly get X. So really just focusing similar to you guys on service delivery and making sure that if you are in that higher tier that we recognize that and that you're not having to tell us, hey, don't you know who I am? I have shopped with you constantly, but being able to recognize that through integrations with Gorgeous as well in terms of our CX team, and being able to say, hey, without them telling us, we know that this is their history, that this is where they are. And similarly, being able to recognize people when they're interacting with the brand rather than saying, hey, only these people are allowed in this part of the brand.
Yeah. It's a really important part. And I think it's what obviously pays dividends to loyalty and to people choosing to follow a brand versus following a company. It's a very small gray line, but it's very important. In switching topics, I think something that's kind of top of mind for everybody. We'd love to hear how you're thinking about like LTV, loyalty, retention going into Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I think it's top of mind for everyone. If you haven't started, you might be a little bit late, but I'm sure we could figure out a strategy for you. But I would love to know, like, you've had customers who've accumulated points over this past year. You know that there are certain things you might have for certain items that are specifically focused for the seasonality of the holidays. So how do you kind of take that big opportunity that is Black Friday, Cyber Monday, where you're competing for dollars against other brands that people are following, to really kind of have the best results for your team? And again, there's no right answer here. There's many different approaches here. So I'm just kind of curious if either you want to take a first stab at how you incorporate that retention loyalty strategy into your Black Friday, Cyber Monday plans.
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff very last minute, so I don't have concrete plans yet. So I'm in that basket. But some stuff that we're thinking about, we do have a mobile app, targeting these loyalty members. When we do, these big event flash sales, our stock moves really fast. And so something as simple as like early notification.
I wanted the blue hoodie and it's already gone.
Right, and it's gone. A colorway will come and go and it's gone, and we won't make it again for maybe years or whatever. So people being alerted early, like that's really easy to do. We have a mobile app sending out a push notification and setting up the sale for them early. Early notification to our Yotpo list of subscribers, giving them extra redemption points during a period. All those things are on the table and really easy levers to pull.
And that costs you nothing, basically. Yeah. It's literally the fact that you're in a VIP tier. You've earned the opportunity to be notified that the sky blue hoodie comes into stock before anybody else.
Totally, yeah. And so kind of, going back to like hacking those systems to give an elevated experience to these customers who are, have much higher lifetime value and their repeat purchase rate is super high. And so, kind of leaning into those things. And on the fulfillment side, like we produce everything in-house. Our fulfillment center is in-house. And so we have the ability to kind of, some people are talking about like create magic through some of those support functions. Just, being sure that we're doing that where we can for these really high value customers.
Perfect. That makes complete sense. And however I can get myself higher on that list, let me know.
Yeah.
Kim, how about for you?
So for us, we've got much more of an evergreen assortment, less drops and novelty coming through. So it's really then looking at how do we use our tags from Yotpo that come into our Shopify instance and use that to actually gate deluxe samples and plus up sampling, especially for newness that's happening next year. We're also doing a direct mailer campaign that offers customers who are house file ranked in terms of opportunity for repurchase. with the chance to have 20% off at their choosing. So really moving away from that time-boxed environment of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I'm a mom, there's always one more thing that I've forgotten. So how do we actually use that 20% off at any time to drive repeat purchase within that Q4 time period? But also use that to really measure the incrementality of our marketing efforts within direct mail. I think that's something we're focusing on for 2024 as well. Is at this point, I think we're all looking at the bottom line a lot more than the top line. I know you mentioned that, Melanie, in your panel talk. Couldn't agree more. And so any way that we can use offers and use our loyalty tags to identify incrementality, either within audiences or in tactics, is something we're really moving towards.
I think it's a really good point. I think we'll take a couple questions if we have time, but if you wouldn't mind, Kim, kind of elaborating on, like, as you think about 2024, like, are there certain things that you guys want to focus on that you think is going to be beneficial to your business? Again, I think it's no surprise that it's a challenging year for 2023. People are optimistic, some people are pessimistic for 2024, but what are some of the things that you're thinking about that you want to lean into? Obviously, having high converting retention customers is very valuable. That's kind of your nucleus and your core of your base. So is there a way that you're thinking about how to best align those two groups? There's something separate you're thinking about?
Yeah, again, with the silos. So I think historically, we tend to think of retention and loyalty as things that live just in CRM, right? They just live in the CRM world. And instead, we're, for next year, planning on how do we make this more of a 360 effort across our CX team, across our product team, across our product development team, to make retention a broader company goal, to improve as well the metric of just no longer looking at new customers. Did it grow? Did it shrink? Returning customers, did it grow? Did it shrink? Repeat customers, did it grow? Did it shrink? And instead looking at the measurements of movement between those steps. I think we've been looking at those KPIs in these silos rather than looking at the movement in between to understand how well we're progressing through the journey of that, and taking that responsibility out of just being within the CRM team and actually being something that we work on as a KPI or OKR, whichever performance acronym you want, for the whole company.
Yeah, so for 2024, and kind of thinking about 2023, we cut our ad spend by like 35% or something like that. So retention was definitely top of mind. And what we leaned into was kind of those like authentic experiences that I was talking about. And we've still been able to grow the business. So doing events, opening new stores. We're opening a store in Nashville that's going to be like part music venue. Continuing to like lean into these, fitness studio type things that just drives brand deeper for us. We've seen so much success in that. And so leaning into that more and then figuring out how we can tie that in digitally with a partner like Yotpo. So that way it's creating this synchronized, layers of touch points where we're communicating, we're bringing in new customers, we're communicating with them, we're sharing these things that we're doing, we're getting them involved through these different apps and functions and communicating at the right time and in the right place, and then ultimately rewarding them for, being a part of the brand. So I think that's Perfect. What we're kind of have on the horizon. I
think it's really cool that you guys both have creative ways to approach similar problems, and you both are finding great success with it. I think we have some time for questions. Does anyone want to shout it out? Justin? If you guys can, say who you are and where you're from. I don't think we were hearing that as well.
Hey, Justin Silver, co-founder at Avrani. Would love to hear about your team makeups, and if you were to build a team of just 3 people for e-commerce, who would those 3 people be?
It's funny because we do have like 3 people. We're a really small team, and most people come from a background like me where they started working in our retail store, and we don't have a lot of, we don't know all the acronyms or the KPIs we should be looking at and different things like that. And I joke that we've gotten the plane up to cruising altitude, and now we're trying to learn how to fly it. And so for us, that's why we lean into partners so much for their industry knowledge. But yeah, it's me, a customer support team who's obviously super involved in the business and guiding us. And then we rely on an agency for paid media, a graphic designer, and then like a 1-person content team is kind of what we're working with right now. So we're looking to build it out, and we're at that level where, you can get to 9 figures, but then like things get a lot more harder to scale, and you have to bring in some talented people from the outside. And so that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
I think for us, we are a DTC team of 8. I think we consider ourselves generalized specialists, generalists, right? Like everyone wears multiple hats and has lived multiple lives in the e-com and DTC journey. If I had to pick 3 people on my island, I would say definitely CX as one, because I think, to Amanda's point, that voice of the customer is just so crucial, and otherwise we're sending out marketing blasts and not actually participating in the dialogue with what the customer really understands and wants to hear. I'd say definitely a e-com business planner with a sales background, because so much of knowing where to go is really being able to get into the building blocks of how you reach that number. We can't just keep plucking numbers from the sky and being like, yep, that's our sales plan. I think we're all under more pressure now to be able to rationalize top and bottom line, and being able to really do a bottoms up plan and understand, okay, if we're putting this into marketing, what's that contributing? If this is emails driving contribution, what's that driving? Being able to build your sales plan from the bottom up like that, or even just from your traffic count, your conversion rate, and your AOV projections, just helps everybody sleep better at night. So definitely someone who has a sales background. And then I think someone who is truly passionate about delivering site experience. So really someone who is constantly thinking about how to mimic some of that IRL interaction through digital tools, whether it's through the tech stack, whether it is through site merchandising, search experience, homepage content briefing, all of that. I think, in DTC, it's so much about relationship building and the vibes. To be able to translate that into tactical content and tactical flat page layouts is crucial. And that's three-headed dragon. You've got magic.
In the back. We got you.
So my question for you is, you mentioned events and offline activities. And so what I'm trying to understand is, and I'm curious too about the tech integration with Yotpo on this, are you driving for them to redeem points to attend the events? Or if they attend the events, they're getting to redeem for merch or, whatever. And then if so, my question is, how do you integrate Yotpo, and how much, this is a 2-part question, how much manual manipulation do you have to give access to like CX and just brand to be able to reflect and be more like personal?
Yeah, and a lot of that is more roadmap and things we're aspirationally trying to do. And it would be encouraging people to attend these events and these different business functions in order to get a point reward or something of that nature. And how we're going about it and the best way to go about it is still something that's being flushed out, and we're working, collaboratively with the Yotpo team, whether it's like a code redemption that they input, if it's a manual upload, which our CX team, we give them pretty much full access to a lot of our tech stack to be able to plug around and do things, so it doesn't have to get escalated to a manager's desk. And so it's something that we don't have totally refined yet, but it's kind of like working collaboratively to build those functions out so we can. And it's not entirely there yet, but that's kind of how we're thinking about it.
So it's all code-based, just to answer the question as well. Like, basically, you can create a code, and you can say it for the first 500 people. Type in the code beach123, and that will unlock 500 points, which might be equivalent to 1 product redemption for a certain product SKU, or it's a dollar amount. You can do things where you can limit it to the first 200 people, and you can do an Instagram live with an influencer or your brand saying, hey, we're talking at 2 p.m. about the importance of beach cleanup. Join for a free water bottle. Super hard to give everybody a water bottle from an Instagram live. But if you join that and you have the code, you can embed those into your journey as well to make it really community driven. And I'm happy to answer more questions about it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Great question though. Do you have any more?
No more time, sorry.
Oh man, I guess we'll be in the back. But thank you guys very much. Obviously,
Thank
Chris
you
for traveling
For
today.
having us.